Now with the Panama Papers out, more people are paying attention to the problem of offshore tax havens. And with this new focus comes a new report showing that corporations in the US have reported, or reportedly hidden, $1.4 trillion in low-tax countries. Now this report comes from Oxfam and names companies such as Apple, Walmart, GE, and other wealthy corporations that have reportedly stashed this huge amount of money in offshore tax havens, despite receiving trillions of dollars in taxpayer-funded support. Fascinating. Now this sum, they say, is larger than the economic output of Russia, South Korea, and Spain, is held in a, quote, opaque and secretive network of 1,608 subsidiaries held or based offshore. Now, what are some of the companies? Well, one of them is, as I mentioned, Apple, the world's second biggest company, topped Oxfam's league table with some $181 billion held offshore in 3 different subsidiaries. You suck, Apple. Holding all that money overseas. No wonder I don't have an iPhone. Other than it costs like an arm and a leg to get it. Even though it's probably made very cheaply, it's not sold very cheaply. Remember, there are components coming from China in factories where they have suicide nets on the outside of the building, where they pay their workers so little in these corporations or in these factories. Why the fuck is an iPhone so goddamn expensive if they're essentially using what's almost amounts to slave labor to be able to make them? It makes no sense to me. I guess maybe it's because they want a lot of profit, and they're not above extortion to do so, or exploitation, I should say, to do so. Now, who else is on there? Well, Boston-based conglomerate General Electric, yes, GE, which Oxfam said has received $28 billion in taxpayer support, was second with $119 billion stored in 118 tax haven subsidiaries. What was it that CEO Jeffrey Immelt said about how they are the moral fabric of America? In that ridiculous op-ed they wrote against Bernie Sanders, or he wrote against Bernie Sanders like last week. He said, oh, Bernie Sanders says that we're not the moral fabric of America. Oh yeah, we're pretty moral, while hiding so much money overseas. Super moral, dude. While taking $28 billion in taxpayer money. Yeah, doesn't seem all that moral. Not moral at all. Now, third is Microsoft with $108 billion. Now, there are others in this top 10 that include pharmaceutical giant Pfizer, Google's parent company, Alphabet, and oil company, ExxonMobil. Great company, guys. Great company. Now, Oxfam contrasted the $1.4 trillion held offshore with the $1 trillion paid in tax by the top 50 U.S. firms between the years of 2008 and 2014. Now, it pointed out that the companies had also enjoyed a combined $11.2 trillion in federal loans, bailouts, and loan guarantees during the same period. So here they offshore a whole bunch of money while asking the government, telling you and me, the taxpayer, gimme. I need these bailouts. I need these loans. I need these guaranteed loans. So that, you know, if shit goes bad, we're not on the hook. The taxpayer is on the hook for us, for our fuck-ups. Gimme. Who's the real welfare queens in this situation? I can't quite tell. Maybe I should read more. Overall, the use of tax havens allowed U.S. firms to reduce their effective tax rate on $4 trillion of profits from the U.S. headline rate of 35% to an average of 26.5% between 2008 and 2014. So they've used these to reduce their taxes. They now pay less tax than most of you. Why the fuck are normal Americans allowed to pay more in taxes than the top 50 largest, most profitable American corporations? Well, it could be we have a fucked up tax system where they can hire lobbyists to give politicians legal bribes in return for special breaks and favors. Or I should say a campaign finance system that is completely fucked up. In fact, according to the report, the top 50 U.S. firms spent $2.6 billion between 2008 and 2014 on lobbying, on those legal bribes. Hey, I'm gonna help you, right? I'm gonna give you money for your campaigns in return for, I don't know, you passing that law that says we should lower our taxes. Interesting how that works, right? Now, how much did that amount to in real dollars? Well, according to the Oxfam report, for every $1 spent on lobbying, these 50 companies collectively received $130 worth of tax breaks and more than $4,000 in federal loans, guarantees, and bailouts. They are taking money right from your pocket. And while they're taking money from your pocket, they're selling you shit with the other hand. Isn't that amazing? They're taking and taking and taking. And how much is that costing us? Well, Oxfam estimates that tax avoidance by U.S. corporations costs the world's largest economy, us, some $111 billion a year. And it's not just that. It's not just that they're costing us so much money in just those tax breaks and just those tax avoidance, right? But it's also helping to fuel larger levels of income inequality by draining $100 billion from the world's poorest countries. In fact, the report said, quote, tax dodging practiced by corporations and enabled by federal policymakers contributes to dangerous inequality that is undermining our social fabric and hindering economic growth. So basically what they're doing is they're fucking over poor people to make an extra buck. And you want to talk about morality? Well, that right there seems pretty fucking immoral. But then again, you've got to remember that corporations have no morality. They have no allegiance to any country. No feelings, no remorse, no concern. And why? It's because it's obvious they're not people. Corporations are not people. They are amoral, profit-making machines designed as a legal fiction in order to extract as much wealth for the shareholders as they can. And they do that by offshoring, outsourcing, buying our politicians, and making sure they pay their workers as little as humanly possible. And they get help by offshore tax havens like the Cayman Islands or Bermuda, whom Oxfam singled out for their popularity with U.S. firms seeking to essentially slash their tax bills using a tactic known as profit shifting. Now, this works by reporting your profits as being made in low-tax countries as opposed to their own, basically in order to take advantage of the lower taxes, and it works. In fact, in 2012, Oxfam said that U.S. firms reported $80 billion of profit in Bermuda, more than their combined reported profits in Japan, China, Germany, and France, four of the world's 5 largest economies. Now, let's be honest, I don't think the Bermudans are giving that much business to our corporations. It's just another scheme to screw us taxpayers into paying what these companies should be paying. Once again, they're taking money right from our pocket. If you're not pissed off at how this works, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. Look, and the point is, of all of this, is that we need to end these tax havens. This is such obvious fuckery. We need to end these, and we need to get rid of these ridiculous loopholes that allow corporations to pay less in taxes than you and I do, while collecting huge tax breaks from us while doing so. It's insanity. It's insanity. We've got to do something about this. We have got to end their free ride.